Okay, Coach, we're coming off the most exciting week. Every season, the most exciting week of the season has got to be that first week of NCAA tournament action. What's the thing that's on the top of your mind coming off that whirlwind?
Man, I tell you, Chad, it's unbelievable to know that two number one seeds are down, number three, number four seed, some people that were in the top 10 all week in AP poll, my poll, not making it to the Sweet 16. Really excited for, we've been talking about San Diego State all year. Remember, I had them in the top 5 at one time.
Yeah.
And Alabama will have their hands full in the first round of the Sweet 16. Of course, Creighton and the surprise of the whole thing is Princeton. Come on, man. Yes. Ivy League school. Yeah. Playing well, getting the job. The Florida Atlantic, which we talked about all year long in the Sweet 16. A surprise, Tennessee making the Sweet 16, but they deserved it. Tennessee did not have an easy road, played Louisiana Lafayette, which I thought was a good team all year, and then just manhandled Duke, who I thought was one of the hottest teams in the country. Kansas State, Michigan State, who I thought should have been in the tournament, but yet Tom Izzo's track record and what he's done, 25 straight NCAA appearances. I think this is his 13th Sweet 16 appearance. That's something to think about. But just looking at our final top 10 at the end of the year, we still have alive in the Sweet 16 Houston, who I had ranked 1, UCLA, who I had ranked 2, Texas, who I had ranked 5, Miami, who I had ranked 8, Alabama, who I had ranked 9th, and Gonzaga, who I had ranked 10th, are still alive in the Sweet 16. And so, again, I think it's a great flavor with the Princetons and Florida Atlantic in there. Kudos to our in-state student, Kennesaw State. They played very, very well. Should have won the game, up 12, gave up the lead. But I'm kind of concerned, as coach was concerned, but he handled it with so much class. The kid on the drive got fouled when they were down 1, so they should be on the line shooting 1-and-1 with a chance to win it. Maybe he don't make it, but at least he has the opportunity. But he handled himself with so much class. Xavier, who's playing well, I think Xavier, Creighton, representing the Big East, and the thing in UConn, they got 3 teams in UConn, and the big upset to me was Marquette not making it. They could have very well had 4 teams in there. Arkansas, look how well they're playing right now. Most of them seem to get them playing really good this time of year, and their win against Kansas was dominant. And hoping Coach Seth gets better. That was a tough deal there, not being able to coach. But from his health perspective, I think he had 3 stents put in. So there's a lot of blockers. So what's important now is his health. And Kansas had a great year. But being a number 1 seed, they no longer exist. Alabama and Houston, the 2 number 1 seed, and Houston, boy, they turned it on against Auburn.
They sure did.
And Auburn was up 8 points, and I said, well, this might be the next number 1. But Houston held Auburn 10 minutes in the second half, Chad. They did not score a point for 10 minutes. And you can't beat nobody not scoring for 10 minutes this time of year. Of course, Gonzaga's made a run, and they're back in the Sweet 16.
8th consecutive time.
And a team I thought all year that very well could have been a number 1 seed, UCLA. I thought UCLA, Texas, all could have been a number 1 seed instead of a number 2 seed. So it's exciting times, man. This is great basketball. My personal bracket has blown up like everybody else in the country.
Yes.
I know no one thought that Virginia would be out in Arizona, who I had going to the Final Four. Marquette, who I had going to the Final Four. Kansas, who I had going to the Final Four, all gone, So I think what we'll do this week, and we talked about last week, is kind of go from the Sweet 16 on and see who we like. But Chad, there's a couple of things I'm taking from this basketball season. First of all, it proved again that the non-Power 5 conferences should have greater representation in the NCAA tournament. I don't agree with conferences getting 7 and 8 teams in. I think there should be a limit of the teams if the numbers stay the way they are. But you had people out there that didn't even get in the tournament. But then you look at teams like Kennesaw State, who Liberty, I think, would have been a very good team. How about Fairleigh Dickinson University and the job they did? A Division II coach came over for St. Quantas a couple of miles up the street. They weren't even the tournament winner. Merrimack, the once Division II school, was the winner of the tournament, but they didn't meet the NCAA requirements.
And his 2 leading scorers came with him from St. Thomas Aquinas, and then the guy that averages 6 points a game but was the star, Sean Moore, scored 19. He came from the St. Thomas Aquinas. So a bunch of D2 players, former and a former D2 coach, coming up with probably the biggest upset ever. They say with Fairleigh Dickinson being, they have this net ranking. They were 301 out of 363 D1 teams coming into the tournament. To your point, didn't even win their conference tournament, beating the Player of the Year and the number 1 seed Purdue. Probably even a bigger upset than UMBC over Virginia 5 years
There's
ago.
no question, especially with Jack Edey being, a lot of people think Player of the Year in 7-4 and the kind of year Purdue had. That had to be very disappointing for Purdue because I know they were looking to make a long run and possibly a Final Four bid. But again, it just goes to show you that, and Princeton is another example of keeping kids together and they maturing and playing together and understanding their roles and sticking to a game plan with excellent coaching. It makes a difference because no one would have ever thought that Fairleigh Dickinson and Florida Atlantic will be playing for the position to go to Elite 8 in a bracket that had Purdue and Memphis in there. And both of them stayed home, and you got Fairleigh Dickinson playing Florida Atlantic. Princeton, it was a surprise with them winning initially. When they beat who did they beat?
Well, Arizona,
the number 1 seed. Okay, I was like, all right. Then they turn around and beat a very, very good Missouri team.
Really beat them bad too.
And both of those teams, Arizona, Missouri's talent level on paper compared to Princeton's talent level is nowhere close. But again, it just goes to show again that teams that play well together in the Ivy League gets one person, but guess what? Yale could have very well been in this deal too. Yale was very, very good, and Princeton beat Yale in order to go. The other thing, Chad, I'm taking away from is that the number of international players and the number of players from Africa that are playing in the NCAA tournament. 8 of the 16 teams in the Sweet 16 all have players from Africa that, if they don't start, they are major contributors. The kid Adama Santnago from UConn is unreal. 6'9", can really play. Gru Rock from San Diego State, who can't even practice because of his knee. Rides a bike all practice, and he comes in the game and just gets a double-double like he's falling off a rock. And then the number of international players from Serbia, from Lithuania, from all over the world, Estonia, Australia, Italy, Spain. It just goes to show you the level of basketball that's played around the world and the respect that they have for our great game of basketball. And Chad, you just think about it. 40 years ago, when we said Akeem to train Olajuwon, he was just the beginning, and Matumbe and Manute Bol and recently the kid that played the Philadelphia 76ers,
Joel Embiid.
Joel L. Embiid. They are all the start of now, which I think is a flood of African players coming here, not only to play in the NBA, but a number of them to play in college. And that's because the NBA and Nike and others have taken great interest in basketball in Africa.
Yeah.
It's no mistake that they have, because at the end of the day, we're going to see more and more African players playing in our colleges and in the NBA. And what they've proven, they're good students, work hard, and late bloomers, because they didn't grow up playing basketball since they were. A lot of them played soccer, which was their sport.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they're 16 or 17 years old. They're grown to 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and they pick up a basketball, and it's all new to them.
Yeah.
And so that's what's exciting. But again, the biggest thing is you and I have been talking about all year, the parity in the game, and I think the Sweet 16 is showing that. And don't be surprised if Princeton, Florida Atlantic, or somebody like that is not playing in the Elite Eight for a chance at the Final Four.
Yeah, to your point about the foreign players, Princeton, to your point, Missouri and Arizona were so much more talented than Princeton, but at the same time, the best player on the floor in those games was Princeton's Tosin Iwoma, and he's a 6'8" guy, grew up in England, but his parents are from Nigeria. He started playing the game at 14. Even Zach Edey, we talked about him earlier, from Canada. He started playing, I think, the game at 14 or 15 years old. But quick question for you, with the African players, Iwoma, if we call him an African player, his parents are from Nigeria. He's the only one that I've noticed that isn't like a true back to the basket post player. Going back to Embiid, Olajuwon, it's a big man's thing when it comes to African players coming over here to play. Do you think pretty soon we'll start seeing guards as well?
Yeah, well, I think Arthur Kalumba, who plays for Creighton, is one of those players. He's 6'7", 225, but he's not a back to it.
Okay.
He's kind of a 3 guy, can do some things. Alex Anambwe from Texas, 6'5", he's kind of a face-up guy.
Okay.
So I think as that African NBA type of supported league continues to develop, and they get more kids playing the game, more coaches, I see opportunities for a number of American college players or coaches being able to go and to help teach the game of basketball in Africa. And the talent is there.
Yeah.
The size is there.
Yeah.
When you think about Manute Bol, who was like 7'4" or 5, his son now, who's 7'2", is one of the better players in the NBA.
Yep.
He wasn't a great college player.
Yeah.
But he's becoming a great NBA player because he's maturing. And I think we will see more of that. And you're exactly right. The game has become so international, and the viewership of the NCAA tournament in places like China and India and Africa is unreal.
Yeah.
And so that's why so much money is being invested now in the March Madness. And man, it's just again we looking at the NIT as well. Teams that we thought like Clemson are knocked out, Virginia Tech knocked out. I think I'm gonna watch Vanderbilt play tonight to see where their next move will be, or maybe tomorrow night, see where they go. But right now, the NCAA is the carrot, the diamond, the crown jewel of where colleges want to go. And it gets me to our next point, is that, wow, look at the whirlwind in college coaching and what has occurred. Rick Pitino back in the Big East at St. John's. Everybody kind of suspected that. The move that surprised me, I know he would be interested, and I thought they'd have his attention, but for Ed Cooley to leave Providence to go to Georgetown was very interesting, being that Ed Cooley was born right there in Providence, East Providence. So he's leaving home to go to Georgetown. But Ed had so much respect and reverence for Big John Thompson. And I think he sees that an opportunity. And to be quite frank, he's done about all he can do at Providence, and he's been there 13 years. Rick Pitino back in the day at Providence with Billy Donovan got him to the Final Four, but that's long and few between. And when Marcus Barnes and all of them were there, I think they might have got to the Elite Eight. I don't know if they got to the Final Four back in the early 70s. But again, look at that move and what's happening. The young coach from Texas, Corpus Christi, who played in the NCAA tournament, he was just named head coach at Western Kentucky.
Okay.
Because Sainsbury stepped down, so they just named him coach. Stoudemire going to Georgia Tech. I thought that was a bit of a stretch. And you talked last week about maybe the success that the coach at Vanderbilt had.
Stackhouse,
Mike, highly academic school and all of that. So it was very interesting. And Stoudemire was a great college player and coached college basketball. But to see him back in the college game would be very interesting. And then, jobs like Wichita State still open. Texas, I don't know why that guy still got the interim name on his job. He didn't take him to the Sweet 16. And former Texas coach Chris Beard is now the head coach at Ole Miss. Very interesting move that McNeese State made in hiring Wade. And he wasn't on the job 2 days, and they've already suspended him for some games based on the NCAA hadn't come out. And it's going to be interesting to follow that scenario because Wade had significant NCAA violations against them while at LSU. And it's going to be interesting how all that plays out for him to start the program at McNeese. But again, the thing is there, Mike Bellotto just got let go at Arkansas State. Don't be surprised to see him as an assistant on Rick Pitino's staff. Because Rick Pitino, Mike Bellotto, and I bring this up, Mike Bellotto started his career as a graduate assistant coach at Augusta State University.
I had no idea.
He was Gary Toole's graduate assistant coach. And then when he left here, he had a couple more jobs. Then he ended up being an assistant at Florida International under Rick Pitino Jr. When Rick Pitino Jr. got the job at Minnesota, he took some of the staff with them. He wanted to take Mike, but Mike thought he had a chance at getting the job at Florida International. Well, it didn't work out. Rick Pitino felt so bad about it, he hired Mike as an assistant coach at Louisville. And then Mike went from Louisville to the head coach at Arkansas State. So don't be surprised to see Mike. Now the thing too is in the news is that Mike Anderson, who just got fired from St. John's, and St. John's owed him $11 million. Now said they fired him
for cause.
And everybody's looking for where the cause
is
at.
Kevin Ollie and UConn just went through all that.
So he got all lowered up. So it's going to be interesting. But I think St. John's would have done their due diligence of being like Georgetown. You owe the man what you owe him and give him the money because it's a tough business. But like I said, nobody's satisfied unless you're in the NCAA tournament. Now, next week, we got Sweet 16 this week coming. I guess you got Thursday, Saturday games and Friday, Sunday games. But first up, I got is Alabama, San Diego State. I think the first number one, the third number one will go down.
Yeah.
I got San Diego State. And the reason I have San Diego State is that they can match Alabama talent-wise and athletically.
Yeah.
They can match. And they have a deep bench. And it's going to be interesting to see how Miller, who's a freshman, will hold up under that type of physicalness. And I think that's what happened last week with Tennessee and Duke. Duke, by far, had the most talent. There's no question about it. But Tennessee hit them in the mouth. And I expect San Diego State to hit Alabama in the mouth. It's going to be interesting to see where
It's an old team, San Diego State.
And Alabama, Miller, of course, is Miller, but he didn't score the first NCAA game. Didn't score a point. He came back and played very well against who did they play? Maryland. And he had 19 and about 11 rebounds. Played good. But the head of the snake for them is Quinley, the point guard.
Yeah.
He is a very, very good player. But I think San Diego State will move on. And then the next game, Creighton-Princeton. Who you like, Jeff?
Let me think here. I am going to go with Creighton.
Okay.
I've liked Creighton all year. It surprised me. I watched them early on against Arizona in one of those early season tournaments, and they were so impressive to me. And then they kind of went on a spell where they weren't so great.
Well, they had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Chad. They had 2 or 3 really big injuries right in a row, and they had a slump. But they come back at the end of the season. I think they won 11 out of 12 or 12 out of 13 games. And so they're playing very, very well. Their win against Baylor was impressive.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people had Baylor even maybe going to the Final Four, and Baylor had what it takes to get deep in the NCAA tournament and good guards.
Yeah.
So that was a big win. I too would pick Creighton over Princeton, but again, we got to figure out is Princeton's last year's St. Peter's.
Yeah.
And remember,
I'll be
they
rooting
made it
for
to the
Princeton.
league. I'm gonna be
Even
rooting
though I'm picking Creighton, I'll be rooting for Princeton.
Now, the other thing that's interesting, and the people in New Jersey want you to know, is that St. Peter's is from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Fairleigh Dickinson is from New Jersey, and Princeton is from New Jersey.
Right.
And you got to be sitting there saying, "Oh God, St. Peter's, Princeton, Fairleigh Dickinson making a run in NCAA, and Seton Hall and Rutgers didn't." So that's good. The next game, Florida.
Now
Atlantic.
hold on.
Okay.
Are you picking Princeton or are you picking Creighton?
Oh, I'm picking Creighton, but you, I'm
Gotcha.
picking Creighton.
Yeah, rooting for Princeton.
Well, picking Creighton, but rooting for
That's
Princeton.
how I am, for sure.
You know,
for sure.
But again, I won't be disappointed if Princeton ends up in the 8.
Sure.
Now, the next one, Chad, Florida Atlantic and Tennessee will be an interesting game. First of all, I was surprised to see Florida Atlantic handle Memphis the way they did. And I thought Memphis really didn't perform well late. The point guard is so very, very good there, who I think is a very good basketball player. But his behavior late in the game, I think, cost Memphis the basketball game. But Florida Atlantic is playing good. They've won 31, 32 ball games. They're nobody to take lightly. Tennessee, who I thought was on the downside of things, again, showed me a lot in the way they beat Duke.
They're going to defend.
They're going to defend. They're going to play hard. Now, what's going to
they
be...
held Duke to 52 points, but go ahead.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting. I hope Tennessee don't make Duke the highlight of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Duke. We made it to the Sweet 16. Oh, we got Florida Atlantic. We're going to automatically go to the Elite 8.
Yeah.
So they better be ready. I think the prognosticators and the people in the betting world would bet on Tennessee.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick Florida Atlantic in an upset. That's just me.
Okay.
And then the next one is Kansas State, Michigan State.
Yeah.
My goodness. Kansas State is going to have a little bit of Tennessee on them in that, them beating Kentucky was a big deal.
Yes.
Anytime you beat Kentucky, anytime you beat Duke, North Carolina, Indiana, all that's big deal to kids in their mind.
Yeah.
And so, but Kansas State is playing awfully good, and the kid that used to be at Florida that everybody thought
Keontae Johnson.
Keontae Johnson is playing good. They got good guard play. Mm-hmm. That's really going to be a game. But again, Chad, I said it before. I didn't necessarily think they deserved to be in the tournament at 19-12. But after looking at their schedule, they played one of the top 3 schedules in the country.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, and after Michigan State beat Marquette so handily, and I tell you now, Michigan State didn't have no easy to get there. They beat Southern California, who was a good team.
Yes.
And then they turn around and beat Marquette, who's in the top 10 most of the year as a good team. So I got Michigan State beating Kansas State. And so wouldn't that be something? Michigan State play Florida Atlantic
to go to the Final Four.
Go to the Final Four. Or Michigan State, Tennessee,
either one.
to see goes out. That's going to be a war.
Yes.
Because Rick Barnes is a Southern
version of Tom Izzo. Yes.
And Tom Izzo is a Northern version of Rick Barnes.
Yes.
So
It'd
be interesting.
It might be 48-46 that game.
And they both old school and tough as nails, and it'll be good. So.
You know, here a couple things. Michigan State, I read today that this is the 6th time that Izzo has taken that team to the Sweet 16 as a 5th seed or higher. Mm-hmm. That's the most of anybody ever, and any coach ever. And then also on Kansas State, you know, they made a point, and I'm got to get the coach's name. It's Omar. Is it Omar Tang?
Yeah, Omar. Mm-hmm.
Or Tangers.
Mm-hmm.
But he Kansas State was picked last in the Big 12. Finished tied for 3rd. He brought in 13 newcomers. You know, So you know, hats off to him. They out rebounded Kentucky 44. I'm sorry. Kentucky out rebounded them 44-25, and they still found a way to win.
Yeah, so it's going to be that Michigan State, Kansas State. I think that will be a heck of a game to watch.
I do too.
I think it'll be a heck of a game to watch. And then again, if that falls through and Tennessee beats Florida Atlantic, like I said, everybody's money's on Tennessee. I'm just picking Florida Atlantic because we've talked about them being so good all year. But a Michigan State, Tennessee, to see who goes to the Final Four. They better have some paramedics around because it's going to be some bloodshed in that game.
I agree.
Now the next game is Houston, Miami.
And you've been talking about Miami all season, and they have really shown why.
And Miami got really good guards. Peck and Wong can really play. And the kid in the middle is not very big. He's 6'7".
Yeah, big old strong guy.
And he's like the first Division I athlete from his country or something. But he's a tough player. They got good wing play. They play hard. They play together. That will be a Final Four type game.
Yeah.
Houston, Miami. My love for Miami wants to pick Miami, but I'm going to pick Houston just because I think Houston has been there before, Final Four team last year. If Miami makes it, it will be their 3rd straight Elite 8 or 2nd straight Elite 8 in a row. That will be a whale of a game. I'm going with Houston, Chad. Beating Miami, which could be very interesting. But what I thought is that if Auburn scores anything in the second half, they'll give Houston a run for their money because they were athletic. They were up 8 at half, but then just hit that for 10 minutes. They didn't score.
And Houston had their 2 leading guards in foul trouble that whole time.
Yep, sure did. And I wonder what's happened. Zepp didn't play for Auburn.
He didn't play much. He was out there.
Yeah, I saw the game before that when Auburn played Iowa. He didn't get into the last few seconds of the game. I thought that was just very interesting because Zepp has been really good for them. And for those out there, Zepp's a local boy, played at Laney, went to the College of Charleston, and then transferred to Auburn, where he's been the last 2 years, and has started most of the time when he was at Auburn, but of late hadn't been getting much time.
Yeah.
And then the next game is Xavier against Texas.
Yeah.
I think the magic continues on for Texas.
Yeah, me too.
I just think it's one of those things. It's almost magical, and people don't realize is that they beat a very good team in Penn State.
Yeah.
A team that was hot, up and coming, and doing some stuff.
Yeah.
And Shrewsbury did. The coach has done an exceptional job. And I got Texas beating Xavier, and Xavier beat Pitt like a drum, which I didn't think was going to happen, but they did. But I would
Look at that Elite Eight matchup.
Yeah, I would love a Texas-Houston Elite Eight matchup with both of them being from Texas, trying to get to Houston for the Final Four.
That would be so neat.
That would be so neat. So I got Houston playing Texas there. And the next game, oh my goodness, UConn for a lot has a Final Four team. I think, boy, their big guy, the guy that starts
Sagana,
and the guy that backs him up, the 7-foot white guy, they can play.
Yeah.
They both can really play, and so they got Arkansas, but Arkansas, as my grandfather said, got a horseshoe up their butt. They just keep winning and playing hard and
just
getting
beat
after
Kansas,
and they've beaten Kansas. And in order to get to Kansas, they had to beat Illinois.
That's right.
And that wasn't easy. And
I picked Illinois in that game.
And you got Arkansas, UConn.
Yeah.
Arkansas, UConn. And I'm going to go with UConn.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm going with UConn, I just think if Sonago continues to play 6'9", 245, like anytime he has a double-double, they've won like 22 or 23 games whenever he scored a double-double. Yeah. And I don't know if Arkansas got anybody that can slow him down. But that'll be a hell of a game. But I'm going to go with UConn. And then the Zags play UCLA. The big guy, Timmy at UCLA, and the white guy with the beard, or the Vasquez, a Latin guy for UCLA. That will be a war.
Yes,
they kind of similar. In the way they play. They tough. They play really hard. But I think that's an exceptional matchup, and I'm going for UCLA versus UConn to see who goes to a Final Four. I don't know why I am, but Arkansas and the Zags would be just as good going for a Final Four, so I think it's a toss-up. But when you think about it, when I think about it, is that over the years, because Houston, when they made those runs at Final Fours years ago, Sampson got them back playing really good. The Final Four is not new to them. They've kind of been there. They've done that. You think about years and years ago, even before, the great coach at Nolan Richardson at Arkansas. Right. Eddie Sutton had great teams at Arkansas, Final Four level teams. And then, Nolan Richardson took them to the Final Four a couple of times, won a national championship. UConn have won this year national championship.
I think 4 of them.
The Zags have been in the Final Four several times, and then they've gone from being a Cinderella 20 years ago to now a blue blood.
8 straight Sweet 16.
8 straight Sweet 16, and then UCLA, who's got more all-time Final Fours and national championships than anybody.
Yes.
So you got UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn, Arkansas, Houston, all have been there, done that. And then on the other side, you look down, and the only person that's been there and done that over there is Michigan State.
That's right.
Consistently. In the Final Four. So I think, I think this is good for basketball. I think it's really good for basketball. And kudos to the Colgates and the Kennesaw States and Drake's.
College of Charleston.
College of Charleston. All those guys who had great seasons. Furman. How about Furman?
Yes.
First time they won since 1980 to the
Yes.
tournament. But the first time they played and won a game in the tournament since 1974.
Yes. Yes.
And guess who they beat in 1974?
Oh,
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah.
And that was a big
Yeah.
win because Furman was kind of like the
Yeah.
little guy Southern Conference,
Sure.
and they playing at that time. South Carolina was probably still, they were in the ACC,
Yeah.
and they only got one team from the ACC to go.
Yeah.
And they played Furman, and Furman beat them. And there was a guy named Clyde. Oh God, we used to play together in the textile tournament in Greenville, South Carolina, many years ago. Clyde Mays.
Okay.
He was a 6'5", just bully type guy for Furman.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the Furman people are very excited. Going to be interesting to see where their coach moves to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are a number of jobs out there, and we'll probably next week go over some of the jobs and who's filling them, because yesterday Providence came open, Iona came open, and I think we'll see more. Texas Corpus Christi came open. We'll see more in that as it goes. But I think next week when we come back to talk about our Final Four teams, nothing will surprise me, Chad.
Right. Now, before we come back, the Final Four will be set. It's crazy how fast this stuff happens.
Right.
So, do you want to say, who your four is going to be as we look at these brackets?
Well, right now, let's say I would have Houston
Yeah.
in the Final Four if I had to pick. Houston. If Houston beats Texas in the Final Four, but it's going to be. I'd have Houston in the Final Four, UCLA in the Final Four. And wouldn't that be something if Houston and UCLA matched up?
That's a rematch from what, Elvin Hayes? Would
Elvin
Yeah.
Hayes and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And they might have
Luell
played.
Center.
Did they play in Houston?
Played in
I think
Houston.
they did, and then they would do that again.
They played in Houston. They played in Houston, and then the year after that, the next season, Guy Lewis, the coach at Houston, convinced coach. I'm sorry. Chad, the championship was not in Houston.
It wasn't okay.
It wasn't in Houston.
It was in a
but
huge dome.
But they beat Abdul-Jabbar, Kareem, and them beat Elvin Hayes and them in the championship game.
Okay.
Or the quarter. And then Guy Lewis convinced Coach Wooden to play Houston in the Astrodome the next year as a regular season game. Because Guy was saying back then that the future of college basketball was going to be played in these large dome and arenas like the Astrodome. And he was exactly right.
That's right.
He was so far ahead of his time. And Elvin Hayes, the Big E, beat UCLA.
Okay.
So there's great
Probably
history
snapped
there.
a long winning streak, if I remember right.
Might have been like a 52-game winning streak, Chad. But that goes, and that would draw some history. That would be a great storyline.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, Chad, about where we are right now, is that it's not only about the teams that are eliminated, but the teams that make it and the storylines that they carry with these teams. The stories about people who had hardships and getting themselves there and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, that Fairleigh Dickinson, with that coach saying, I want Purdue to hear this. And then says, he tells his team, the more I watch Purdue on tape, the more I feel like we're going to beat them.
Right.
And then they beat them. Giving them that locker room material. I mean, all these stories. The guy at Princeton, I think, is a great story. Started playing basketball at 14 and best player in the Ivy League last 2 years. And
look at the Princeton coach. He's the guy that I was telling you last. He's the guy that's been there maybe 14 years, in his first 7 years, he won 30% of his game. In the last 7 years, he's won 70% of his games.
Wow. Yeah.
But that just goes to that there was administration.
Yeah.
They're willing to stick with him.
And he said after the Missouri win, best college in the country, best fans in the country.
Yeah.
So
he
means that as far as his appreciation.
Oh yeah, and again, we need to see more of that.
Yeah.
Play people sticking with their coaches, giving them an opportunity to grow and develop their teams.
San Diego State and Creighton.
San Diego State and Creighton. I'm gonna go with San Diego State making it to the Final Four just because I just think it'd be a great storyline.
Yeah.
And then, crazy as it sounds, I got Michigan State on the other side against San Diego State. And here we go. Crazy as crazy would get. How about Michigan State and Houston in the finals?
That would be something.
So
that would be something.
I doubt if that will occur because right now I think I only got 7 teams left that made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
But again, that's college basketball, and that's the way it should be. Kudos again to Coach Metris and Augusta University. Anybody can go the last 2 years of 60 wins and with just 10 losses. Aiken had a great year. Lincoln Memorial is going to represent our conference. Who else is in the Elite Eight? Have you heard, Chad?
Well, the only 2 teams that are kind of familiar to me. Nova Southeastern goes back. They're undefeated, just like they were last year when they lost in the first round to Black Hill State. And the other team that's back is Black Hill State, the same team that beat them last year.
Black Hill State. But one thing about the Division II, once you get to the Elite Eight, they reseed them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. So I guarantee you, Nova Southeastern,
there'll be a 1 seed again.
1 seed again. And Black Hill State might be an 8 seed again. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it would be. It would be. And then I'm thinking, Indiana, Pennsylvania might be back.
Indiana, Pennsylvania, and they should be a 2 seed.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Memorial will be probably a 5. 4.
3, 4, 5.
But
So, on that note about Augusta University, the temptation would be to be disappointed that they fell in the second round. But look, the one that won the Peach Belt for the second year in a row, and then look at Kansas falling in the second round, Purdue falling in the first round. I just read this morning that this is only the second time since 1980 that North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky, none of them are in the Sweet 16. Right. Second time in 43 years. So, it just is what it is with college basketball.
What it just goes to show you, and you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, Chad, but at the end of the day, college basketball is tough.
Yes.
And the crazy thing, it's getting tougher.
Yes.
And I don't know, there's not a Sweet 16 team left without maybe Princeton might be the only one out the Sweet 16 without transfers.
Yeah.
Without transfers. It'd be interesting if Houston has it, but everybody else I know, UCLA, Jags, UConn,
Kansas State,
all of them got transfers. And then you take a guy like Kansas State and Arkansas. I guarantee they got more transfers than anybody.
Yes.
Those 2 guys. Yes. But most of them is okay with that. He was a junior college coach for a long time and everything. So him having a guy for 1 or 2 years is not it's not crazy for him.
The other one, by the way, relating back to Augusta University, Northwest Missouri State, won it either 4 times in a row or 4 times in 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Beat us in the national championship game last year, and they fell the same night, round 2, as Augusta.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I'll leave you with today, Chad, is that Mike Brey, my good friend from Notre Dame, is set to be named the head coach of South Florida.
Okay.
That's going to be interesting.
That will be.
When Mike said at his press conference he was still interested in coaching, and that would be a good place for him to fall in a good league. And then,
AAC, right?
The AAC, and then with Central Florida moving out of the league, going to the Big 12, that'll help him
Yeah.
down in South Florida.
Yeah,
And
good.
right now, still waiting to hear if Johnny Dawkins okay. He run around in the NIT beating Florida. I hope that kept the Wolves at bay for a little while. And all that, but man, there's so much great basketball going on, and we got more to come. And this is just the men's tournament. The women's tournament on that end is just as crazy.
Yeah.
How about last night? Number two Indiana upset by Louisville or Miami?
Miami.
Miami.
Yep.
And guess who Miami beat the other night in men's? Indiana.
Yes.
So
yes.
how crazy is that?
That is.
And how about the women? How's our women doing, Chad?
Let's see here.
I think
Iowa, they are in the Sweet 16. They beat Georgia 74-66, so they'll play the winner from last night of Colorado and Duke, which I didn't keep track
The
of.
guard, the player they got there. And
She's so
I like Boston. I like a lot of people out there, but she is as good as I've seen.
You can't beat Caitlin Clark.
But Caitlin Clark,
Good Lord,
she
she's
can
fun.
play.
Yeah, everybody, next Steph Curry. She is the closest thing to Steph Curry that I've seen since Steph Curry.
And she likes the big moment.
Yeah.
The moment never gets too big for her. So that's going to be interesting. Well, so we got great basketball coming. Like I said, I was so happy for so many people to see Jeff Capel get off the hot seat in Pitt and then, make it to at least around the 32 was very exciting. I thought Indiana made a move. Mike Woodson has done a very good job there. I think the biggest disappointment for me would have been Purdue getting beat, Kansas getting beat, Virginia getting beat, all of those people. Kentucky getting beat in the second round wasn't much of a surprise for me. I thought Duke had one of the hottest teams in the country, but I think Tennessee, they got new fresh blood and see if they can. And that just gets down to now, who played best last weekend. Now at the Sweet 16, it'll be who plays best this weekend. And then when you get to the Final Four, it's the team that plays best for 2 nights there.
Virginia, by the way, it says here, number 4 Virginia was knocked out by a double-digit seed for the 3rd time in the past 4 tournaments. Now, that one time that they weren't knocked out was when they won the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Well, I guess that shows college basketball. You can be on top of the mountain or in the bottom of the ditch, depending on how 40 minutes go.
Yeah, and then that's why you have appreciation for teams and schools who do it on a consistent basis.
Yes.
Day in and day out. And just getting the opportunity to play in this tournament is a great deal. The people in Alabama are going nuts right now based on the fact that Alabama's a football school and all of a sudden. Going to be very interesting, I thought, the other day with the assistant coach the head coach at Georgia Southern landed a spot with Chris Beard at Ole Miss because they worked together at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it, or not the funny thing about it, the guy was a head coach at Georgia Southern. He probably going to make 3 times his salary as assistant coach at Ole Miss with Chris Beard. Yeah. And the thing is, Georgia Southern people can complain all they want to. At the end of the day, since Frank Kearns, I think I counted the other day, there's been 6 basketball coaches in that time. Mm-hmm. And so that would have been over the last 30 years or so, 6 or 7 basketball coaches, and one of those being C.Y. Young. The guy that came from Alabama as assistant coach was there. The guy down at Lynn now, this guy. Now, there have been so many guys. But the bottom line is that until Georgia Southern start spending more time on basketball than football, it's a football.
It's like a mirror image with University of Georgia.
Right.
It's just different levels.
Just different levels. But at the end of the day, I hope Georgia Southern gets it going. But at the same time, the hottest team in Georgia right now from Division I level is Kennesaw State. Yeah. And every time I see that guy, hear that guy, Raheem on the doing an interview, the more impressed I am
Yeah.
with that guy.
Yeah, he's
And-
red hot. I thought he would become the Georgia Tech coach.
I did too. Or guess who else I thought might have had an opportunity at Georgia State, Jed, was Brian Odom.
Okay.
Dave Odom's
Yeah,
son, who's
yeah.
at Utah State.
Yeah.
They made a heck of a run.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that was at Baltimore County
Yeah.
and they beat Virginia.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
before then he was at Lenore Ryan
Yeah. Okay.
as a Division II
Neat,
coach.
neat,
Yeah.
neat, yeah.
So it all goes. It's a big circle, man.
Yep.
Glad to be with you
Yep.
again, and we'll continue this thing. And man, it's just again, if there's anything better than college basketball, please let me know.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.